Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, Hut, and this is another insane report starring those that are at the nervous hospital known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Now if you know and you don't know, this is the Baseball Hut 2. And you need to hit that subscribe button because we're going to talk a lot about, what's going on there at WFAN. I've been on their case because they don't treat the Mets fairly. As a Mets fan, I think that they treat the Mets so terribly. It's disgusting. And the one thing I've noticed, and this is kind of the mantra, not only just with the Mets, but with WFAN, but with the general national media, that whatever the Mets do is wrong. I've said this many times. Whatever the Mets do is wrong, and when they do it right, it's always wrong. As you know, we don't know again, the Mets did not sign Japanese ace Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And this was a bone of contention here at this channel, a lot of other channels. Because we were getting tired of waiting around for this Japanese dandy to sign a contract with the team. He and Shohei Ohtani dragged the entire market down. And now all these players that have been free agents are going to be taking less money in the new year. Because as you know, today, as I record this video, is December 22nd on a Friday. And the holiday weekend and the holiday week is going to begin. And these two players have given the owners an excuse not to pay top dollar for these other players. That's not my problem. But just to sort of give you a little background. So at WFAN, they have all these insane takes every single day. They say one stupid thing after another. Now, Steve Cohen has spent a lot of money on the Mets to trying his best to put a good product. But this is a situation where this team has been a bad organization for 30 years, and he's trying to fix the culture there. And it's taken him some time. Now, his second year, the club won 101 games. This year, they are not expected to be a contender in the way that they were going into 2023. And because of that, they're not spending a lot of big money. But Yamamoto was a big piece that they wanted to get, not just for this year, but beyond. So a lot of the sort of personalities have gone on the attack. And what's interesting is they really haven't attacked the Yankees that much, which doesn't surprise me. And here we go, here's a Yankee fan, Brandon Tierney. Part of the Brandon Tierney Spaz Licata show. We're going to give Brandon an official nickname. I haven't really given him one. It's Coconut Head. It's pretty good for him. So here is Odyssey.com. I will not play you clips here because I don't have to worry about that monkey garbage of them striking down the channel. So here's from Odyssey.com. Headline: BT. Mets fans should have Steve Cohen concerns about missing on Yoshinobu Yamamoto. BT said earlier this week that this would go down as the most pitiful offseason. Ridiculous. In Mets history, if they didn't sign Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto has never pitched in the major leagues. He's 25 years old. Now, he's not had injuries in his career, but he signed a 12-year contract with the Dodgers. He will have an injury to that arm. And that injury is going to be getting here sooner rather than later. After all the clips I've watched of him, he does not use much of his legs. He's all arm. He slings it up there. Now, he is the best pitcher in Japan. He's better than Ohtani. He's better than Kodai Senga. But just keep that in mind. The article continues. That is now reality as Yamamoto reportedly signed with the Dodgers. And BT says it is time to question Cohen as the free spending all-in titan of the industry that many perceived him to be when he took over the Mets. That was never true. This is something these idiots concocted. Okay, they're in on every team. I mean, they're in on every player, the Mets. But this idea that he can wave a magic wand and throw money at a player, it's not going to happen. He's lost out on a couple players. Steven Matz was a player he lost out on. And the players, some of the players that he has not gotten, they've not done a good job. A lot of people have been talking about George Springer writing to me. George Springer's been hurt for the last 3 years. He's missed a lot of time. That was a guy I wanted, but he's been hurt the last 3 years. Quote from the Coconut Head. Your owner went hard, no nonsense, no BS. Cohen acquitted himself amazingly in this process. Again, When he does it right, when the Mets do something right, it's always wrong. He did everything he needed to do to get in the room. But the thought that Cohen, when it was time to reach for his biggest weapon, the checkbook, if everyone is going to tell me that Cohen is going to elevate the Mets to supersede the Yankees, where is this $360 million offer? Where is something that gives Yamamoto pause? At least something that says, I can't leave that extra $50-60 million on the table. Coconut Heads didn't see that extra push from Cohen to give Yamamoto an offer he couldn't refuse, which he says is the cause of tapping the brakes on Sal's King Cohen. Well, Spaz is stupid. Don't pay attention to Spaz. Don't pay attention to him. Quote, he has always been positioned as the biggest, baddest spender, BT said. And he had the same exact offer as the team that he went to. I would mention, the Mets gave him the highest offer. And Yamamoto went to the Dodgers and said, can you match it? And they said they could. And he didn't. They never went back to the Mets. That's not Cohen's fault. Next up is the Psycho Ward of WFAN. This is from Odyssey.com. C-Mac, this is from Chris McMonagle, calls out Steve Cohen for not going all out for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Again, he's a guy that's not pitching the majors. Why are you going to go out of your way to give him a $400 million contract? I would have done that, but that's a lot of money. The C-Mac has said for weeks that the Mets didn't land Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the big fish of the offseason. It would be disastrous. Of course it is. With the Yankees, it's not a disaster. No, of course not. He's another Yankee fan. I think he's a Yankee fan, isn't he? Or he's just a nut? Yeah, he's just a nut. Now that it has become reality, C-Mac isn't changing his stance at all. No, of course not. This was the only freaking guy they targeted this offseason. C-Mac said, I don't know what else they're going to do. There are some top end of the rotation pitchers available, but ultimately the Mets, not really. But ultimately the Mets made a case that this was their guy. They flew halfway around the world to go see him. He's back in Connecticut having dinner at the Cohen household to only offer $325 million. Then you didn't want him. And Steve Cohen didn't want to go out there and make his splash. And Steve Cohen stops at the point and doesn't go get his guy. Plain and simple. He's got as much money or more money than the Dodgers, and they just spent $700 million. Psycho. Ohtani was never going to the East Coast. He's going to stay on the West Coast. His agent is out there, and not for nothing. Maybe you should understand. Yamamoto has the same agent as the Wasserman Group, as well as Tyler Glasnow. So this one agency's been able to sort of cultivate all these free agents and all these trade pieces in one place and gotten massive amount of money. You did not win championships in the offseason. We've seen it with the Mets. How many times did the Mets win the offseason? And we've had collapses, one after the other. I mean, this is the kind of nonsense that we've heard. Again, when the Mets don't do anything right, and when they do it right, it's always wrong. And finally, in this video on the Insane Asylum, this is the one guy that not only does he do different voices, but he also his voices in his head. And he admits to it, and that's from Greg Giannotti, one half of Norman and Greg, or as you know him, as Boomer and Gio. Again, from this Odyssey. Again, we'll mention this again. When the Mets do anything, it's always wrong, and when the Mets do something right, it's always wrong. So understand that. Gio says Steve Cohen has become owner plays used as leverage to get teams they want to pay up. Greg isn't sweating the Mets losing out on Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but he doesn't like what his team's owner has seemingly become to star free agents. That's basically what Steve Cohen has become in baseball. He hasn't become the big bad owner to buy everybody. He's become the guy everyone uses for leverage to get other rich teams to pay them the money they want, where they actually want to play. That's what he is. He's a trampoline. Cohen has landed big fish in his time as Mets owner, signing the likes of Francisco Lindor, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, and Edwin Diaz to contracts, and Brandon Nimmo, by the way, or extensions. But Greg says it still hasn't lifted the Mets' image to the point where they are a top desired destination. Huh? What? Still, he doesn't believe missing out on Yamamoto is the end of the world for either New York team. Quote, it's not good, but I want to be reasonable, Greg said. I don't think this is the worst thing in the world for the Mets or the Yankees. Can you figure out what's going on here? I can't. You know why? Because this is another insane report starring the inmates' residence at WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha ha. They're coming to take me away, ho ho, hee hee, ha ha. To the funny part.